When I was 25 and a half, I started a podcast. The goal? To review some of the newest and the latest movies, along with some other stuff. With the help of my guests, I was able to do this, but there were dark forces tampering with my podcast, and with me. They called it an improvised podcast for some reason. I eventually found help in the form of myself. Yes, the me from a universe where the movies I reviewed got delayed. Apparently, my podcast made it to his universe. I know now that it is my duty, for the good of that universe, nay, the multiverse, to keep recapping and reviewing these movies, to hold listeners over until they could eventually see the movies as they were made in their world. For some reason, they come out differently in my world, but it's kind of entertaining that way. My name is Steven Shinder, and this is Delayed Replay. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay. I'm your host, as always, Steven Shinder. And like I said in the previous episode, we're delving into a few video game movies. And joining me for the first of these, it is Mr. Multiverse. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm so glad that you decided to make me the permanent co-host. Yes, after GVK, Steven was like, I want to keep you as my co-host. You're my Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson.
I mean, from like context, I'm guessing that those are talk show hosts, because Johnny Carson was the only name of those two I recognized, so...
I hang around old people. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I used to watch talk show hosts all the time, and my favorite was Craig Ferguson. But once he retired, I was like, yeah, no other talk show is gonna be good enough for me. Like, he was just amazing and unique, and so I haven't watched talk shows consistently since like the end of 2014.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest late night, but Craig Ferguson was a big one for me. I would say, like, if I'm gonna watch anyone else that comes close is Seth Meyers.
Okay.
But really, I'm not the biggest talk show host guy. It's just like, it's just you're just a talking head for an hour, and you're just promoting. That's pretty much it.
Right, but with Craig Ferguson, it was more unique because instead of a band like everyone else has, he has a robot skeleton and like two guys in this horse costume, and it's just so surreal and bizarre, and I just loved it.
Yeah, he was really great. I loved when Peter, because he and Peter Capaldi from Doctor Who were friends before he got to be the Doctor or he got his show. They were in a band. And did you ever see the video of them talking together? And he's like, so how's Elaine? He's like, oh, Elaine's great. I don't think they know who Elaine is. And then Craig goes, well, they're smart enough to probably figure out that it's your wife, Peter.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that video, but I have seen Capaldi interviewed on his show. It might have been like after he became the Doctor. I can't remember, but yeah, I could just imagine the two of them like hanging out as like their younger selves, kind of like that X-Men First Class sort of thing. I don't know why I jumped to that image for some reason.
Yeah. There's also another really good one. You should go out find this video of him and Neil Gaiman hanging out on his show, and they talk about Doctor Who and like Cthulhu and the old gods.
Oh, nice. Yeah, if I can find that, I'll link it in the show notes. But talk shows aside, we are talking about the Mortal Kombat movie, which, you know, in that other universe where movies got delayed, apparently it's coming out in mid-April. But in our universe, it was gonna be released March 5th. Well, I guess technically the night of March 4th, which is when we're recording, weirdly enough. But it got moved up to mid-January earlier this year. So, yeah, it's been a minute since we've both seen it, but like I feel like we have a good grasp on like the movie and what happened. Like I took notes, like I sometimes do during movies.
Yeah. So get over here and check out our podcast.
Right. So before we go into the movie proper, I guess we'll start with our
like past experiences with the Mortal Kombat franchise in general. So I'll start since it's the quickest. I've had very little experience with it. I feel like my older brother Alex has played like he's played more fighting games than I have. Like I think he's played Mortal Kombat. He's definitely played Street Fighter and Super Smash Brothers. And our friend Albert, who was on the Wonder Woman 1984 episode of this podcast, he's played some Mortal Kombat as well. And I think through him, I've seen clips here and there of that Mortal Kombat and DC game, and it looked pretty cool. And I think me and my brother may have had the VHS of the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, but I barely remembered any of it until like watching it more recently along with its sequel. So yeah, I've had like very little experience, but what about you?
I've had a lot of experience with it. I would say funny enough, my first introduction to Mortal Kombat, like I had known about the game, but like my first real introduction was Mortal Kombat versus DC Comics, which I know is not a good game, but it's like the mechanics are like more loose. Like everyone says, like it was like the starting point for both the new wave of MK games as well as the Injustice games.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is funny because they're like if you play the other like later Mortal Kombat and Injustice games, they're apparently in the same multiverse.
Oh, nice! And that's your last name, so it all connects.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I've been following a lot of like I've been playing classic and older, like the new wave of Mortal Kombat games. I've been very much looking forward to this movie. Because I think we've been seeing a new wave of like better video game movies. I don't know how you felt about it, but I liked Rampage.
Oh, that's one I meant to watch recently, but I forgot to. Like it's on HBO Max, it's on my watch list, and I was gonna watch it last week, but then I forgot. But yeah, I'll have to get to that now.
Yeah, Rampage was a lot of fun.
Okay. Because when it comes to video game movies in general, I feel like for the most part, the execution, like if it's an adaptation of a video game rather than movie that's about video games but not based on anything, like typically adaptations have fallen short. Super Mario Brothers movie from the early 90s was a notorious example of that. But yeah, I don't know if you've seen that one, but I felt like the Mortal Kombat movie from 95, like it was, I actually found it entertaining. Like I know that it's basically just fight scene after fight scene, but you know, it's basically a fighting game put on the screen, and I thought it was funny how like there's a scene where Sonya is fighting someone and she's like doing the steps forward and back, kind of like you would see in the fighting game, and
yeah,
I thought that was hilarious, and the music is just super hype, like it's so good. But then when you get to the sequel, there's a noticeable drop in quality for like the effects. Like there's obvious green screen backgrounds, and the CGI isn't like as good, especially for like the dragon thing toward the end.
Oh yeah, it's a mess. But the first Mortal Kombat movie, I think we all agree, like everyone agrees that the first Mortal Kombat movie was like it's still good. Like it's held up as a fine movie. It's a fun movie. There are flaws with it, but it's a fun movie. And this movie, I feel like is fun, but I think it takes itself too seriously. Like the first movie had fun, but this one really tries to pride itself on being overtly gory. And yes, I'm well aware Mortal Kombat is made for fatalities, but like I feel like it was getting high off of itself for like we're gonna be bloody and whatnot.
Yeah, I can see that. Like they definitely dialed it back on the fun factor, I guess, to make it fit in more with modern movies. But before I forget, have you ever seen this thing from '95 where it's called Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins, and it's like a half hour or so animated prelude to the movie, and like it switches between 2D and 3D animation.
Oh yes, I try to forget that. I try to forget that.
Yeah, the 3D animation doesn't look very good. It reminds me of Food Fight, which is very not good. Once it's done, there's a few minutes of them showing like the character rosters and descriptions. So it's basically an ad for the characters and the upcoming movie, and then you get like 10 minutes of behind the scenes, the making of the 1995 live action movie. So that's a weird thing.
Yeah. You see, the two biggest things in the 90s were Spawn and Mortal Kombat, which is funny because Spawn is in Mortal Kombat as a DLC in the new game. It was a weird era back then, and that what you just described is just encapsulate the weirdness that was part of the Mortal Kombat, like, just TV era.
Right. I also should mention before we continue that I also watched like recently the animated movie Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge, and that was so good. Like, it wasn't just fight scenes, like they were able to add development in between the fight scenes, and it was like R-rated and super violent. Like, my friend Albert was hyping it up, and I think it lived up to the hype. It was just missing that really catchy theme song, but it was so good.
Yeah. I personally really loved it. I was afraid it was just going to be just fight scene after fight scene and they were just going to revel in the violence. But no, there's legit story there, and I wish there was a story here.
Yeah, in this newer Mortal Kombat movie, like, you can see there's a bit of an attempt to make a story. Like, okay, so they set the scene by introducing us to Cole Young, who's played by Louis Tan, and like Cole gets wrapped up in this stuff where, well, like, Sonya briefs him on this mission that happened 7 years prior, having to do with Sub-Zero being tracked down to Brazil, but he takes down like a unit from Earthrealm Special Forces. And like Cole has like this symbol on him, so like he's been chosen, and he gets informed about Mortal Kombat, but
Which
like,
makes no sense, by the way. That bothers me. Okay, for a number of reasons. One, Sub-Zero isn't from Outworld. He's from Earthrealm. He is a Earthrealmer. Now, I will admit that people are saying, well, why is Sub-Zero a villain? Because he was a villain in the first game. The older brother, Bihan, that's the Sub-Zero in this story, is the villain. His younger brother, Kuai Lang, becomes like an anti-hero / hero. So, I don't mind that they made him Sub-Zero a villain. I was expecting that. But I was like, why suddenly do we have him, like, why do we have Sub-Zero, like, being, like, treated like a metahuman when it's kind of said a few times that in Outworld that there are metahuman abilities, people with metahuman abilities, and cryomancy, which is the thing Bihan uses, is just treated like having superpowers is suddenly all new. I hate that. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
tell us how you really feel.
Oh, I'm gonna. The other thing that I think the Scorpion movie, the animated film, has over this is that this movie tries to. Because, okay, I'm sorry. Cole Young, first off, is not a character in Mortal Kombat. He's just a plot device. But the other thing is, what I think the Scorpion movie has over this live action movie is that the story of Scorpion is a great way to look into the world of Mortal Kombat through the eyes of someone from the outside, because Scorpion's kind of an anti-hero. He's kind of like your Spawn or Ghost Rider, but his story is compelling enough to do. And I feel like they did, and don't get me wrong, Hiroki Sanada as Hanzo Hisashi Scorpion, that was perfect casting, because he is the best in here. He is the best, but I feel like the Scorpion movie is a lot more concise and plot-wise, like it's more tighter, because you're focusing on one character, and you're telling the story of Mortal Kombat through the perspective of someone who's not really, like, in the main group, and also has a personality. Because Cole Young's personality is like that of a wooden brick.
Yeah, like it felt like they were trying to make their mark by creating an original character, but in the process they forgot to add more depth to him. It's like all we know is that he's been chosen, and he's basically Like he doesn't feel as much like a character. It's just that things are happening to him, and this kind of falls into the trap of some other superhero movies where rather than spend like enough time with each of the characters, like letting us get to know them very well, like it kind of dumps them super quickly into the thing before we're able to like catch our breath and memorize like all their names and their motives and stuff. It's just basically they shove them into the toy box and it's like, yeah, this is everyone, just deal with it, and then like there's some nonstop action and you kind of just have to roll with it.
Oh, that bothered me on such a spiritual level because I'm so sick of characters with a destiny. No, you're not. You don't have a destiny. You have a plot device. I really just I like. There are parts of this movie I like, and that's what I don't know if that irritates me more.
Because you see how it could have been better.
Yeah, like if like the scenes with Scorpion, like when Hanzo is fighting, when Hanzo is fighting I just said the name too. Sub-Zero's clan. Why am I blanking on the name? I just said it.
You're freezing on the name.
Shut up. Lin Kuei, thank you. Oh, how did I do? But yeah, when he's fighting the Lin Kuei, I'm like, this is perfect. Like, it's shot great. Hiroyuki Sanada, Hiroyuki Sanada. He, like I said, he was the best out of everyone in this. Well, I will say that I did like Tadanobu Hasano as Raiden. He was another good one for me. And Joss Lawson as Kano. I thought those are the three performances I really liked out of everyone, was Kano, Raiden, and Scorpion. I think those guys gave their A game. Shin Han as Shang Tsung was fun, but I don't know. It's really hard to beat Karayuki Tagawa. It's hard to beat Your Soul is Mine.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a few of these characters are more in the forefront and the others are kind of pushed to the side, which is unfortunate because like in an ensemble movie like this, you would hope that everyone gets like equal footing and focus, but I feel like they weren't able to find that balance here.
Yeah. Like, again, like, why couldn't this just have been Scorpion's Revenge live action?
Yeah. Well, like not shot for shot, but remixed in a way where it's not just the exact same thing. But yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, every time Hiroyuki is on, when Sanada is on screen, it's like, wait, don't cut away from him. Go back.
Yeah.
Was there any performances you liked?
I thought the actor who played Sub-Zero was very intimidating. Okay, so part of it is the effects, and they're able to capture like his abilities very well. Like it looks very convincing for our era, and you can tell that he seems very bloodthirsty. But there were times where like the lack of fun in the movie made me wish that he was slightly like he'd have like a dark sense of humor, like not Mr. Freeze and Batman and Robin where it's like overtly cheesy, but if he had like a Darth Vader's sense of humor type of thing, like I think that would have been cool. But he just came across like, yeah, I am bad and this is what I do, and it's just like I feel like they could have injected a little bit more personality into him. But again, like I'm not as like I don't know what fans of the franchise expect from the character, but that's what me as like just the movie goer coming from the outside was kind of hoping for.
Well, Bihan, this Sub-Zero, because I told you there's his younger brother takes on the mantle. Bihan is a dick, but he's not. But he got manipulated into. He basically. Okay, what happened was why there's a rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and they kind of like gloss over it. But Hanzo Hisashi, Scorpion, his family and clan were murdered by the Lin Kuei, and what he thought was Sub-Zero, but it turned out to be Quan Chi, another sorcerer, who took on his identity. So when Hanzo died, he made like a deal with him to become like a revenant. So he comes back with demonic powers, kills Bihan, and Kuai Lang becomes Sub-Zero, and he has a vendetta against Scorpion, but they eventually like chill out and become like, you know, like
chill out.
Yeah, they chill out.
Nice.
Yeah, but you don't get that. Like, you get little brief images here and there, like it's these quick jump cuts of like a dead. Like, it took me a moment. It's like, oh, that's the dead woman and child I'm seeing are Hanzo's family. Okay, thanks for glossing over that important character arc movie.
Yeah, it was kind of like watching the trailer but extended. Like in trailers, you kind of expect things to be cut very quickly and look really cool, but in the movie, it felt like they were doing too much of that and glossing over certain things, which, I mean, as cool as the fight sequences were, I kept thinking, okay, I want it to be more fun. I want to care a bit more about these characters. Like, when is that going to happen, movie? Like, you're not giving me what I paid for.
Even the 90s movie understood that by having, it was kind of balanced. It was pretty balanced between having, you know, Liu Kang. The original movie had Liu Kang and Johnny Cage as our like two, like it was two different people, but those were two characters I cared about. And that's the other thing. Not even you could have switched out Cole for Johnny Cage. That way we would have had a character, or at least a fun character.
Right, because we'll get to this like toward the end, but like we don't get Johnny Cage until like the post-credits scene at the end, which we'll describe later. But yeah, I kind of, because Johnny Cage has more personality to him, and it's like you could have injected more personality into Cole Young, but again, he's just like a blank slate, and things are simply happening to him. He doesn't seem as motivated. It's just he's dropped into this thing, he accepts that he's been chosen, and he's just like learning about all this different stuff. I also, like, this is kind of funny how, like, I realized, like, there's a bit of a similarity between Mortal Kombat and, like, the Monsterverse, and how they describe that, oh, these things have been around for a while and described by all these cultures. Like, I mean, it's probably a thing that's been in, like, lots of movies, but I thought that was kind of interesting how we got those two aspects in common with these movies we've reviewed.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, is that they gloss over, it's like they're scared if they don't get your attention with the action that you'll lose interest. I mean, yes, I'm aware this is based off of a fighting game, but I want to care about the characters when they fight. Like, I want to go like, yeah, not like, again, I think the best fight in here is the Sub-Zero Scorpion fight, because it's very well put together in all the fights have great cinematography to them, but the main thing is I care about Scorpion.
Like, one of the only fun parts of the movie is when Cole goes to a 7-Eleven and he sees like this arcade game. It like they designed it to make it look like some generic fighting game, and he just plays on it for a bit, and I think that's supposed to be like a wink to the audience, like, hey, look, he likes playing fighting games. Wait till you see him in action. But it's like that's not how this works. Like, just because he's good at fighting games doesn't mean he's automatically going to be the perfect person to be in these actual fights. And like, it's just weird. It's clumsy.
The other thing that pissed me off is when when I watched that scene, I was like, and then he did the moment of he says Street Fighter sucks, and I'm like, wow, that was mature of you at Mortal Kombat movie. The moment he says Street Fighter sucks, I went, wow, we're going for the low blows here.
Yeah, it's that reminds me, like, this is a tangent, but several years ago, my brother and his friends, like, they loved playing Street Fighter, and he told my mom that he was gonna go play Street Fighter with a friend, and my mom was like, what? You guys are gonna fight each other in the street?
Oh, I can only imagine what she'd think of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, like, this movie does live up to the promise of it being bloody, because it's R-rated, and you get, like, lots of stabbing, and you even see, like, some beheadings and stuff, so it lives up to that promise, but it doesn't have the substance that made Scorpion's revenge so good. Like it kind of feels like okay, I don't know if the people making this movie had a chance to look at that animated movie, but if they did, it's like they may have picked up the wrong message of like what makes the movie great, you know?
Yeah. Like, they had to have been like, oh, violence makes the movie. It's like, no, story makes the movie. Another thing that bothered me is that, yes, I was aware we were going to get fatalities in here, but there were characters in here I was like, why couldn't we have saved them for another movie? Because they just feel like, just characters to kill. The fight between Reptile and Kano, Reptile shows up in his, like, they went with the whole full lizard look from, I think that was Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. He had that look because he had the whole ninja skin too in the original when he first showed up. But the fight was good, but then they kill him. I'm like, damn it. Why doesn't anyone care about Reptile? Because he died in Scorpion's Revenge too, and I like playing with Reptile.
And the part where Raiden, like where it looks like he drowned in the movie, like lots of people in the audience were groaning at that part because like it was like it was pretty early in the movie, and it was like there's no build up to it. It wasn't an emotional scene, and so understandably there's a backlash against that, and you have these petitions from some of the fans like revive Raiden or whatever it says, and it's like I understand their pain.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that Raiden's kind of a pivotal character in the mythos.
Yeah.
It kind of matters that Raiden needs to live. He's the one who assembled the Earthrealm heroes. He's a core character in Mortal Kombat. Were you just going for shock value and drowning? What were you thinking? Drowning? That's how Raiden's gonna die? The God of Thunder is gonna go out because he can't breathe underwater?
Right. Like electric types should be super effective against water, right?
Yeah. No, that angered me on a spiritual level.
Just spiritual anger.
Like, my thing was, like, the moment I saw that scene, I could almost hear, because I got a friend, Chris, who's a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I could almost, and he lives in New York, I could almost hear him screaming. It's like that scene in Dragon Ball Bridge, where it's just that loud scream, and you just like, do you hear that? I feel that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, do the people making this movie, like, I guess this is a question I generally have whenever it comes to video game movies, is like, how much research do they usually end up doing beforehand? Because the results tend to be not very good, and I kind of wonder if maybe sometimes that's due to like a lack of research and understanding the source material, or
they kept saying
if it's something else.
Yeah, and they kept saying, "Oh, we worked close with the Mortal Kombat team. We worked close with the characters. We wanted to get them right." And I'm like, "You clearly didn't." I was like that meme. So that was a fucking lie.
Yeah. There were cool fight scenes here and there. Like, I really loved when Melina like picked up a mace and like used that to her advantage.
Yeah, weird, because Melina just dropped her size in the fight, and instead of go get them, she grabs a mace and just starts swinging away. I'm like, all right, it slows her down. The other thing, and let's actually talk about Melina, because that's something I want to get at. So Melina is a clone of the princess of Edenia, of the realm Edenia, Kitana. She's like the clone sister that Shao Kahn had made to be like his perfect heir, but she's defective. And the other thing is, she's supposed to look Japanese. In case you didn't notice, that actress was not Japanese.
Yeah, I guess that didn't occur to me, because I wasn't as steeped into the lore, but yeah, that is weird.
And I'm not saying, like, I know what someone's probably going to say is like, oh, you don't like that a black character's in here. No, I really love Idris Elba as, Heimdall, and there's a lot of great roles. My problem was, and I wouldn't have minded if they didn't just say, because we see Katana in the end of the movie, like, building for the sequel, and she looks like she came out of the video game, including the ethnicity. Yeah, right. That is not the message you want to send, is that, oh, people of a different skin color are defective, and they're violent and aggressive.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it was their intention, but you would think that they would look at all the different angles and be like, maybe we should not do this certain thing.
Or if you were going to do that, just change Kitana's ethnicity as well. I wouldn't have minded a different colored skin Kitana. I get it, it's the movies, but like, if you're going to why didn't you just make Melina the same ethnicity? Because now you're just sending the message of different ethnicities are just violent and evil and like.
Yeah, it is really weird.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just jump on that. I was just so. Like, I didn't mind that Melina was a different ethnicity. It's just the message they sent when they showed Katana. I was like, wow. How did this get... Did anyone stop and go, maybe we should rethink this for a second?
Yeah, I feel like I've felt similar about some other recent movie. I'm like trying to remember what it was. Like, the unintentional message I might have sent. Well, I guess a different example that's like along a different line is like how the Rise of Skywalker, unintentionally sends the message that a hero has to come from somewhere, from an important lineage, and like a main hero can't just come from nowhere, like that type of thing. Like, it's like the unintentional message it's sending.
Yeah, and also it's okay to date people if they're really horrible to you.
Right. Yeah. That's all the unfortunate implications.
Yeah, it's like, it's okay if you were really aggressive, it's totally fine. You can still kiss them, it's fine. Oh, Rise of Skywalker.
Like, Ben's death being that, like, you can be redeemed, but you have to die. Redemption equals death. And it's like, we saw that with Vader / Anakin already, and it was such like, they didn't have to try that trope again, but so I can see how that like rubs people the wrong way as well.
Now, there were some other like minor characters that show up that I was excited for, like Natira. I was really shocked by seeing Natira in here, but she's just here to be. It's kind of like seeing the Black Order in Avengers Infinity. They're just here to get killed.
Oh yeah, I remember some people were really upset that the Black Order were like picked off pretty easily.
Well, I kind of figured they would be mini bosses, but at the same time, I'm like, some of these characters are like some deep cuts, like Natira. We even got to see like Aaron Black, who just stood around and looked cool, which, to be fair, that's kind of his whole thing. Speaking of someone who plays Aaron Black a lot. There was also like, and they have these fun cameos here, but they're just here. It just feels like, should I care because you're just going to kill them off at some point?
Yeah, because once you kill off someone important early on, it's like it feels very dangerous to care like at all, and that really detracts from the experience of like wanting to care about the character. It's like, I'm not sure if I should feel something or not because he might tear my heart out. Movie.
Yeah. What did blow my mind was because Cole has his daughter, right? We haven't talked about her, but she's annoying. But I'll tell you one thing: I was not suspecting her to get killed off by Shang Tsung.
Yeah, it was like we've seen like Scorpion's Revenge do something dark like that, but there it was like it fed into the plot in a really interesting way, whereas here it kind of felt tacked on to me.
Yeah, because it felt like, but I will give it credit because that it was a kind of a surprise, and it's the implication that made you go, because Shang Tsung, like, you see Cole like on the ground, and his daughter's like, "Come on, get up! You gotta keep fighting!" And he gets up and fights, and then he just feels like this sharp pain in his back, and it's a knife in his back, and the kid turns into Shang Tsung, and it's like, Shang Tsung sucked her soul out, and that's how he transforms. Is that he consumes the souls of other people.
Yeah, it's very Chucky from Child's Play, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's more like it.
Like in broad strokes, just like the stew and soul type of thing.
Yeah. I was like, all right, movie. You got rid of the annoying character because all she seemed to do was try to be. She's trying her best to act like Daphne Keane, but she's not Daphne Keane.
Right. They were like trying too hard to add more emotional weight, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, like she's trying to play all like she's trying to be like witty and sarcastic, but it's just annoying. Like, get over yourself, kid. You are in a Mortal Kombat movie and you're playing the daughter of a character you shouldn't have you that does not exist. I do not care about you.
Yeah, I think this was an instance where I think the director should have like maybe didn't give the best instructions and like maybe he should have done better. But yeah, like it just felt like some of the relationships were like not very compelling and so some of it felt like a mess. And
Yeah.
like some of the fight sequences I felt spent way too much time being like shot like it like an unbroken shot from the side so that it looked like the games like when you see the two opponents from the side it's like okay I get that you're doing a tip of the hat to that but you're kind of doing it for too long here like just stop.
Yeah. And you do it 3 times in 3 different fights. I'm like, okay, even the original Doom movie knew when to stop the point of view shot a scene.
Oh, like Doom the video game movie.
Yeah, it knew when to stop that point of view scene.
Yeah, I've never played nor watched Doom, so that might be one I need to check out.
It's a point of view shooter game, and in the movie, which sucks, but there is like one moment. Heads up, it sucks. But in the movie, there's a scene where they cut to like a first person shooter, and it's fun. But it's like a brief, like 5-minute scene, and it doesn't stay around longer than it needs to be. I only say that because if it was the main character from the Doom games, which it's not, I would have been more okay with it. But it's a nice little reference in a stupid ass movie. Anyway.
Oh,
but
Dwayne Johnson was in Doom.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson and Carl Urban.
Me and a couple of friends are of the opinion that if like putting Dwayne Johnson in a movie will make it at least a little bit more entertaining and or tolerable, I guess.
Yeah. That's why I was like, oh, Jungle Cruise is going to suck if Dwayne Johnson's here. He's just here to, remind you, hey, I'm a good actor, right? This movie's going to suck, but you're not going to care.
Yeah, listeners, check out the Jungle Cruise episode from season 1. But yeah, that's kind of funny. Like Dwayne Johnson's been in Doom and in Rampage, which are video game movies, and the Jumanji movies, which are movies about a video game.
Yeah. So there is like a few other characters, and another character death that really got me angry was Cabal's death, because Cabal is another like fan favorite, and it's stupid. They don't even use his super speed. They use his hook blades, his like the hook blades he uses, but then he just gets shot in the head, and I was like, "Are you?"
You I didn't see that coming.
No, I literally almost felt like I had an aneurysm.
Okay, so like I've never walked out of a movie before. I was very tempted when I watched Jigsaw, but then it won me over. How many moments were there in this while watching this movie, Mortal Kombat, that when you were tempted to just walk out, like if at all?
A lot.
You have lost count.
And the thing is, there were parts where I was like, yeah, this is all right. I can stand this. Was like, with Scorpion. Like, if we just followed Scorpion, I'd be fine. And the other thing is that the actors for Jax and Sonya and Kung Lao are so wooden. Doesn't help that Cole's there. The only one who gives any life to that crew is Kano's actor.
Yeah, like he has a bit more personality than much of the other characters, which, like, it's unfortunate because, like, they're called care actors, not don't care actors.
You go sit in the corner for that.
I just get emboxed in a corner, like in some crate.
But Kano is pretty good. I like how he started out like as okay, it's a desperate times call for desperate measures, and then he betrays everyone to Shang Tsung for money, and that's how it in this universe starts the rivalry between Sonya and Kano, because in the games there's a big rivalry between the two. So that was cool. I like that little twist. And although, to be fair, I was expecting, I was like, oh, okay, so Kano's going to turn now because there's no way we're going to keep Kano as a good guy. This is not a good movie.
What'd you think of the music, though? Because sometimes the music ends up being better than the movie, but how'd you think it was compared to the movie?
The score was good. I especially like the music for Sub-Zero and Scorpion's fight. Have I mentioned that the Scorpion parts are the better parts of this movie?
Yeah.
That music was really cool. I will say that final fight, the music between the fight between Liu Kang and Goro was well handled. I think that was a very well, but it's music I'm not going to remember. In fact, I feel like I'm going to remember Godzilla vs. Kong's instrumental soundtrack than I am this.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like there were, like I did kind of appreciate how in this Mortal Kombat movie there was that brief moment where Cole is like looking out the window and it's raining. He's like just thinking about life or whatever. And the music, it's kind of subtle, but you can catch it. It does like a slower version of that Mortal Kombat theme song, but it's like dun, 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 dun.
I literally said out in the theater, "You're not clever, movie."
Yeah, and like I wish that they had like brought back like the actual theme song for the final fight, but they only save it for like the end credits, which is disappointing because it's like you could have at least hyped people up like during the final fight. Like, why you gotta say that?
Your movie's already a shipwreck. You might as well go for the nostalgia points, to save face.
Yeah, but I mean, at least the special effects were better than the '90s movies. Like I guess that counts for something.
Oh, bravo! I'll get them a gold star. I'll give them a I'll give them a blue ribbon for you did your best.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to push you into like loving the movie. I'm just like, at least the effects were better, but that's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah. Can people tell that I hated this movie? And also, this movie has 3 after credit scenes. The Katana one, she just shows up and just unfurls the fans as just a brief moment. It's like, oh, here's Katana. I'm like, wow, okay. So there was nothing there. The second one, like showing Johnny Cage at a convention, like you don't see his face, but like there's people waiting in line, and he just signs an autograph. I was like, there's Johnny, and I'm like, I wish you were in this movie.
Yeah, and what's funny is like you see. Like before they show him, they show Nicolas Cage, and it's like, wait, is he gonna play Johnny Cage? But that just pans over to like him at the table signing autographs. It's like, oh, okay, thank goodness. Like Nicolas Cage is a fun off the wall actor, but he's not Johnny Cage.
Yeah. Although I will say I like that moment where they're like you see Nicolas Cage first, and he's talking to somebody. It's like, I hope it's Johnny. I hope it's Johnny. And it's like, oh, it was like, yeah, you and me should really star in a movie together. Cage Bros. And then you just see the signing going, Johnny Cage, Cage Bros.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, that was good. That was good.
And like the camera pans over to like the corner, still at the convention, and like far away you can see Baraka, who is played by Ryan Reynolds. So it's kind of like a throwback to X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I literally had a "fuck you" movie moment. Because I was like, you're not being clever. You're just being annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Baraka cosplay by Ryan Reynolds was not funny.
Right.
And then the final one, that one actually had like some potential, but I was like, I'm already like, this movie can't save itself. That ending scene with like Shang Tsung, his arms all after his whole final fight, and he's lost. He goes limping back, and I was like, I know where this is going. And there's Shao Kahn, looking like the big villain himself, like looking like he walked out of the video game. I don't know who they got to play him, but he looked dead on like he walked out of the video games. And they clearly dubbed the actor's voice with the video game actors who plays Shao Kahn in the game, who voices Shao Kahn in the video game's voice. So I was like, damn, I'm almost intrigued to see what you would do with Shao Kahn in the next movie. But it's gonna be hard to get yourself out of this mess.
Oh, see, when I heard his voice, it didn't even occur to me that it might have been like from the game. So for someone like you who's like familiar with the games, did it kind of like did it ruin the immersion a little, or were you just really cool with it?
I was cool with it. My inner MK geek was like, yeah, because it was the because he looked dead on, like that was like the best looking of the group. Not to say like the costumes were bad, but like this he just looked like he walked out of MK11. And the fact they got the video, I mean, it wasn't hard, but getting Shao Kahn's voice actor from the video games to dub over the physical actor, which just do that. Don't cast anybody as Shao Kahn. Just do that again. Like, if you want me to come back for a sequel, if you do it, do that, because that's the only way you're going to save face is just play the nostalgia card right now.
Right. Why is combat spelled with a K? Like, that's a question I've had for a long time.
It's supposed to be clever. Like, it's just supposed to be like
clever with a K?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like it's supposed to grab your attention. And that's just been a running theme for the games.
Okay. All right. So I guess we could go into final thoughts and scores out of 10. So what are your final thoughts and score out of 10 for this Mortal Kombat reboot?
3 Street Fighter sucks quotes out of 10.
All right. I feel like I liked maybe half of it, but that's not like very good. Like it's the amount that I liked Batman versus Superman when I first watched it, and then once I thought over it like some more, I like dropped it down a point. So, but I feel like I enjoyed this a bit more than that. So, I'd give this Mortal Kombat movie 5 out of 10 maces to carry because it dropped the size. So yeah, I guess the sequel to the 1995 movie Mortal Kombat Annihilation no longer deserves the nickname Mortal Kombat Annihilation of the franchise. That's probably a thing, right?
I wouldn't jump to that. Mortal Kombat Annihilation still holds the title of being a Mortal Kombat Annihilation. This is, but I would say this is a close front runner. You bet, people, if you're watching this, just stick to Scorpion's Revenge.
Right. Yeah, if you're watching this audio only thing, yeah. But
yeah.
I'm curious to see like if they do make a sequel to this, because it did make some money. I don't know if it's enough for them to consider it a success or not. But if it does, maybe they could pick up on those threads like at the end that seemed interesting and hopefully breathe more life into this current film series. But as it stands right now, it's like at a shaky start, so who knows?
Yeah. Or I'm more excited for the Scorpion's Revenge sequels than I am this.
Oh yeah, because that one ended on a cliffhanger, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. Just Warner Brothers, just stick to animation like you do with where the real gold with DC is in the animated films.
Yeah, like some of the live action DC films haven't been very good. Like some have done well, but in general they excel at animation. And it's like, it really blows my mind that Marvel does not have as high of a reputation when it comes to like their own animated stuff like DC does. It's bizarre. But anyway, thanks for joining me on this Mortal Kombat episode, Mr. Multiverse. Where can people find your stuff?
On Mr. Multiverse, the YouTube channel.
Yeah, you got a lot of great stuff on there, talking comics and also fan fiction ideas. Like I saw the one where you talked like Terminator and Doctor Who crossover.
I literally just thought out of that in midair, and I was like, wouldn't that be fun? I don't know how that makes any sense, but let's try.
Yeah. All right. As for my own plugs, you can email Delayed Replay at delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the Mortal Kombat in general, or just video games and video game movies. and we might read your thoughts on the show. You can also find me on Star Trek Culture, which is a podcast. It's available on Spotify and Apple, and you can also find the video versions on the Culture Slate YouTube channel. You can follow me at Steven Shinder on Instagram and Twitter, Steven Shinder Storytelling on Facebook. You can go to stevenshinder.com, look up info on my fantasy horror comedy novel Lemons in My Rain, which is available on Amazon. And as usual, I will dump these links in the show notes. And the topic of the next episode will be the Uncharted movie. But until then, dear listeners, without further delay, have a good day.